Hello and welcome to the Long Dark Nights podcast. I'm Kirk.
And I'm Jitwire. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. I'll be the one, Rhino.
Hey,
Hello.
welcome everyone.
Basically, the reason we're doing this kind of late on a Saturday, this is kind of impromptu. Hinterland dumped a bunch of stuff on Wednesday night, and it was late. And this is basically would have been the first time between Jetwire and I that we could have even recorded anything for this. So we thought we'd just do a live deal, and then it would also be the recorded version. So we just figured we'd do it all at the same time, and then this way, if anybody was able to come and join us at a slightly later date and time that we normally do this. So we're just basically going to go over the dev diary.
Yep.
And if there's anything you want to add before we go, I'm just going to, and what we're going to do is we're going to read through parts of it that we feel are the most important parts, and we'll kind of summarize some of the other parts of it.
Yes. And then we'll take questions pretty much after each section, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit. But we do have a ton to go through. So
if you haven't read it, it's basically in the Steam deal, and we'll probably have a couple of links to put up on a pinned comment because there's a couple of videos that came out with this too. So we'll try to link everything.
absolutely.
So, nothing but to do it. So here we go. This is Developer's Diary, April 2025. Dear players, it's been a busy few months since we wrapped up the final part of the Tales of the Far Territory in December and shipping the final parts on Switch in March. We've been working on a variety of things in the studio, so I wanted to update you on some of those things and address a few outstanding topics I know that are on your mind. So, Episode 5. Episode work is ongoing. I know that you're all waiting for specific updates, but we are really trying to avoid spoilers, so we won't be sharing much detail about the episode until the first teaser trailer. I will say that the episode is the most ambitious we've ever built so far, and we've got quite a few systems we haven't used in other episodes, so it's proving to be quite challenging for the team. We also feel that the weight of the anticipation and the need to ensure we ship something of the highest quality. We know that many of you, like us, have been waiting for many years for the story to be completed, and once it's done, we can never go back. So that's what's really on our minds. The episode can't just be good, it has to be great. To clarify, the episode scope for you, the episode 5 has between 2 to 3 times as much cinematic and story content as episode 4, which is our largest episode to date. The game world you'll be playing in is also 3 to 4 times as big as episode 4. There's a lot of story threads to tie up across the episodes to wrap up this Wintermute storyline, but also to set the stage for the future of the Long Dark. So we have to take you to several different places and hear from a lot of new people because of what the story needs. We focus on narrative more than we have traditionally, and the mission flow of episode 5 will probably be more linear than previous episodes as a result. The episode will take you through many new locations. Everything in the episode is new to the game and the world. These will be places you've never been or seen before. And this final episode of the story has you playing as both Mackenzie and Astrid. And you'll be also seeing some of the key characters from previous episodes. So there's a lot. We've also used a new motion capture tech for our team to attempt to deliver ever higher bar for the story than we've ever achieved before. These are some of the things that exist outside the context of survival mode, although some of the work in the tales help set the foundation for some of the things we're attempting in episode 5. I can confidently say that episode 5 will be the most ambitious thing we've done on the Long Dark at Hinterland to date. I know that won't mean much until you have it in your hands, but hopefully that gives you some sense of the ambition behind the episode. The majority of the development team at Hinterland is working on episode 5, with a smaller team working on Blackfrost. So you can assure that this is our primary focus, and it will be until it ships. In order to ensure the team has enough time to focus on finishing the episode to our highest standards, we've asked them to work on it through the remainder of the year, with the plan to launch towards the end of the year. We're also pushing out other planned survival mode updates, see below, to ensure that the team can focus on their efforts for episode 5. At this point, we now have a we know how critical it has been to wrap up and deliver a strong finale to the story. That's what we're focused on. So if So if we're heads down and you don't hear from us, or you hear from us less, it's partly why. We're very, very busy.
Yeah, so that was a lot to take in. So just to kind of go ahead and paraphrase that for everyone as well. So essentially, this is going to be Hinterland's most ambitious project to date. The episode 5 is going to have 2 to 3 times more story content than episode 4. It's going to be 3 to 4 times. The map is going to be 3 to 4 times bigger than episode 4. We're going to be playing as both Mackenzie and Astrid. There's going to be some entirely new locations we've never seen before, new gameplay systems that are going to be unique to this episode. Episode 5 is also going to be more narrative focused for the missions flow, and it's going to be more linear to serve the story because they do have a lot of loose ends they really have to tie up. They're using new motion capture tech for better cinematics, and they're having a much heavier focus on quality. Like Kirk had quoted, it can't be just be good, it has to be great. And it really does. I mean, because a lot of us have been waiting for, 10 years for this episode. The release date has changed. We were supposed to be getting it Q1 of this year, but now we won't be getting it until the end of 2025 just because of how ambitious the project is and how long it's taking them. And finally, the majority of Hinterland is 100% focused on episode 5, and Blackfrost has a smaller team that's still working on it. So yeah, a ton.
Yeah. And this kind of ties into why we were pushing so hard in April to do kind of a recap of all the story mode, because we were anticipating this coming out. Probably, I was guessing June is what I was thinking we would probably see it. And
yes.
As we have learned, we now have to be a little more patient. And I guess, it is what it is at this point. I'm not gonna knock them too badly. They were a year late on the DLC, but they didn't quit and they delivered. And now we have that finished. So
Yeah, and I mean, I do really agree with the sentiment that it can't be good. It has to be great because, again, you've had people waiting for this episode for a long time. When did they first announce it? When did they finish episode 4? I mean, it's been since 2021, right? People have been waiting.
It's been a while. I thought one of the things that I thought was interesting was that they were, that episode 5 is also going to tie into the greater world. So I'm wondering if they had to rewrite some of it to fit the narrative, to maybe we'll have some hints about the Blackfrost story. So, because there is that little snippet about that.
True. Very true.
So I would go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hello to Mary and Coy and Silent Shade. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, guys. I was going to say something that if this feels disappointing to you, go become a Half-Life 2 story mode lover and ask Valve where our third story is. It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So this is easy disappointment to get through. So And then I get it, I understand, and I know a lot of people were upset about Blackfrost and that they're doing that. But I think I mean, we can talk about this later when they talk about Blackfrost. But I have a good analogy to maybe describe that if people are a little confused as to why they're working on two things at once. But so the next part of it in the dev diary is that they are talking about the Tales from the Far Territory now being complete. They basically delivered it to Switch in March, and they did a really nice video recap of all the parts that we got in different updates and what have you.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to these videos if you don't know how to find them. We'll do a pinned comment for these, but I think personally, I think the recap is kind of like a sales brochure. I think this is to let everybody know, hey, if you were on the fence, it's done. Come check it out.
Yeah.
And no better time than now to buy it because it's all on sale.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. Obviously, there's a huge Steam sale going on right now. Everything is deeply discounted. And until the 28th of April, it's going to be on sale. So, for example, I think like the whole game is like $4. So if you want the whole game, or if you just want the DLC, or even like the soundtracks or something, everything's on sale. So
yeah, in fact, I just recently bought the soundtracks just for us to use here on the podcast. So
yeah, and they were what, like $7 or something like that?
Yeah, I think I spent $7 on them. So
yeah,
dirt cheap to buy all that stuff. If you're on the fence on if you don't have story mode or if you don't have parts of it, good time to get the rest of it.
Yeah.
Okay. The next drop, and this is what was so crazy about Wednesday night, because they dropped the recap video, and then like a few minutes later, they dropped the second video, which is they're getting ready to release here in May and June, depending on what you play on, this very intensive visual enhancement deal that they're doing. And you really can only talk so much about it. You really need to go watch the video. There are some really cool things coming out about this, and I'll let Jitwire kind of do she's got a little breakdown here of what's going on with that.
Yes. Yeah. So, onto the visual enhancement. So that's what we're on now, right? So
Yeah.
Get a little confused. I was trying to think.
No. Yeah, scroll down a little bit.
Thank the person on Twitch for following. So, so we're going to be getting brand new visual enhancements for the game. A lot of it looks really gorgeous. Kind of hard to cover because, again, it's a very visual thing, and we will also include the trailer that they dropped that kind of goes over the visual enhancements, and they show them side by side. So you'll see like what the game looks like now and what it looks like with their visual enhancements. So there's going to be things like colored fog and colored shadows, and just to make the world look a bit more dynamic and more contrast, and have more contrast and be a bit more realistic. So it all looks really great. And this is targeted towards high-end systems. Do you want to kind of put that in there as well? We can be expecting that for PC first, sometime towards the end of May. And then for consoles, so the PS5 and the Xbox Series X/S is going to be around June.
Uh-oh. Hang on. Let me see what happened to Jitwire here.
For it's just something we're getting with the game.
All right, you fell off the planet there just as you were talking about the PC thing. So hang on.
Oh no.
Yeah, just the last part of it. So anyway, here I'll pick up. Because I heard we dropped off. So basically, the visual enhancements are going to cover a lot of like just a lot of it's going to be nuance you may not see. Some of the bigger things that are going to be in the visual enhancements that I think are going to be very noticeable. If you have a computer or if you've got one of the more high-end consoles, you're going to see where snow will now drift into the wind off of like houses and off cliff faces and stuff. You're going to see wind-driven snow wisping off of objects. There's also going to be a steam and fog effect on the water. So in places
Mm.
where there's actually water, you're gonna get a foggy or steam effect. The other thing that I thought was really cool that I noticed was that the shadows are now going to be color toned to the skybox. So if you've got a yellowish orange sky, the shadows and the fog are going to be colored that same color. It's going to be a much more how do you want to put it, a more immersive look to it. And then lastly, the thing that I thought was really cool was they're going to add what they call surprise or like startle events where you're going through and snow will drop off of a mountain or drop off of a house. Rocks will fall down off cliff faces. There's even a small section they kind of show this little like avalanche event happening. I thought that was really cool, very immersive.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that too. I see Silent Shade is saying they are as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Did have a couple questions real quick I want to get to before we really jump into this anymore. Mary, so if you have Wintermute, will it update when 5 drops or do you have to buy it separately? It'll update when 5 drops, so you don't need to buy anything
Yeah.
else.
If you buy Wintermute, you own Wintermute all 5.
Yep. And Elijah is asking how long this is going to be. As long as it needs to be, as long as it takes us to get through the dev diary. So yeah, Toasty is fighting demon cougars right now, and he wants to be here. I completely understand. He has his hands full, it sounds like.
It's not easy fighting the demon kitties.
No, it's not. But anyway, sorry, just wanted to answer those questions. But yeah, really excited for the visual upgrades. Like it looks great. And we'll also link the trailer again so you can see like the standard versus, what the visual enhancements are going to look like.
One other visual enhancement, and I forgot to mention this, is that's going to also. I like the startle events, but the other thing that we've been dying for is the draw distance.
Uh-huh.
Draw
Yes.
distance is now going to have different settings. So if your PC can handle it, the computer will draw in things further away. This is going to be awesome for beachcombing.
Yes.
You'll be able to see things from a lot further away. So
Yeah,
that
or
part is going to be really cool.
yeah, or even like cinematics. I mean, I do a lot of that. I'm almost tempted to redo all my Great Bear real estate videos once this comes out.
Yeah, because the distance things are going to look a
Yeah,
lot better.
yeah, it's just going to look so much better.
So yeah, I
So
forgot about that one, but that one's also going to be in that, and that's all going to be PC next month, and then the consoles in June, and that's all because they've got to get, them to sign off on the upgrades and stuff. So
yeah,
depending on how strong your system is, depending on how strong your console is, you'll be able to enjoy some of these enhancements coming. But the video is definitely worth watching.
yes, yes, and again, that is going to be a free upgrade that's going to be going out to everyone that owns the game. So just wanted to clarify, it's not DLC. You don't have to buy anything or anything like
Yeah.
that. And Simon
So now-
Shade can't wait to melt my computer trying to run everything on Ultra with new visuals. Same.
Oh, I know.
Same, and I'm going to be recording at the same time my computer is going to be. It should be fine.
You won't
I
have
a
to
really
heat your
good-
room in the wintertime. The computer will do it for you.
Yeah, the computer will do it for me. I have a pretty strong computer though, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm sure it'll still be better than trying to play like Arc Ascended or something like that.
Yeah. One of the things you
don't
do
know.
when you do content when you build a computer, you're thinking beyond just playing the game because you're doing rendering and you're doing all that stuff. Because I know
Yep.
I've got a pretty stout computer as well. So and I've made it for gaming and doing video. So
Yeah, like mine's custom built as well, so. But yeah, very exciting.
yeah. So the next little segment is about the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox SX, and that has to do with the visual enhancement. So it's going to give that new platforms some really nice eye candy for those new platforms. So that's amazing that you're going to be able to put that on there.
Yep.
Okay, so now we move into one that has probably drove everybody crazy. Is that they talk about cooking with ruined food and how they're going to fix it. So do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read through this, or do you want to just do the touch base on this?
Yeah, let's just touch base on it. I mean, it's really important, but I think we have
It's
the key
kind of
points
wordy
here.
in here, but I think I
Yeah.
think your bullet points will cover everything. So,
Yep.
um,
So, yeah, essentially, ruined food is no longer usable. So, they did announce a while ago that that was intended, and I know everyone was really upset about it. So, yet again, they've confirmed that ruined ingredients can't be cooked anymore. And this is pretty much to match the rest of the system rules. So, like, for example, like you can't wear ruined clothing anymore, so you shouldn't be able to cook with ruined food. Um, to go ahead and combat this, because they realized it wasn't really fair to people who had longer runs going on, they have made some changes. And those changes are the decay rates have been adjusted, so there's slower spoilage for canned goods, fresh meat, and fish. So that way people have more time to process and preserve food properly. They've also rebalanced the trader a bit. They've added some rare ingredients like canned peaches, which are now available to trade with Sutherland for. And they've also adjusted the costs of those things to make them more viable. So that's essentially the gist.
which I'm glad they addressed this with the trader and that, because it's the only fair way to fix that, and it would have been nice if they would have conveyed this when they did it, for sure. Wandering Firekeeper, hello, welcome in.
Hello.
Glad you were able to join us today. I know we're doing this at a little different time, but we've also discussed it. And while we're talking about different time, Jetwire and I have actually discussed doing. We do a Sunday show once every fourth week because of my work schedule. But we've also talked about doing a Saturday night show versus the Sunday night show. So if this time frame works for some of you, I know it doesn't work for our regular crowd and that, because they're all sleeping right now. But
Yeah.
if this is something you'd like to see us do, either we can add another show in and do a late night show maybe once or twice a month, and we can talk about more than just the Long Dark. Maybe we can throw in some other games or what have you and that stuff. So, but we need feedback. So you got to feedback,
Yep.
leave comments, let us know. Anyway.
Yep. And Castle's asking, could you wear ruined clothes before? No, you couldn't.
No.
And that's what they were kind of saying. They were kind of trying to make the cooking system to match that, because you couldn't wear ruined clothes. So why should you be able to cook with ruined food?
And you can't use ruined tools. You know, like if a bow gets ruined, you can't use it. You can't fix it. So they were trying to tie it together. It makes sense. I get it. It's just I don't think it was well communicated, because they kind of threw it in with the update back in December, and then everybody was freaked out and confused by it, and it wasn't even in the release notes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because a lot of people wanted the achievement for it as well. But and this change that they implemented made it really hard to go ahead and get that. And then also a lot of the food items weren't available. Once you found them, they were either ruined. So I'm really happy that they thought about it and they added them so you can trade for them now. So hopefully that will help those people who want to get that achievement be able to actually go and complete that now, especially if they're trying to do it on a longer, more established run.
Okay, so the next thing in the dev diary was they talk about the switch crashes, and this came about after they released the last parts of the Tales, parts 5 and 6, back in March, and basically they found a memory leak of some sort when it was in dock mode. They do have a repair coming out Monday on the 28th, so hopefully that will help with the Twitch players, or Switch players, excuse me.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. You guys have been super patient as well.
Yeah, I know I have quite a few subscribers who are Switch players, and they've been having like a really hard time, like since the Tales came out and everything. So I'm glad the Tales were finally released on that as well. And then also they're fixing these really problematic, kind of game breaking bugs that made it so you couldn't even play it.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow when you want to, play the game and it's not working for you. It's really painful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last little bits we can kind of combine these together. One was the planned quality of life update, and they were also going to do mod support and enhance custom settings. That
Hmm.
was all supposed to come about right about the time that they released episode 5, and so now, because of the push to get episode 5 out by the end of the year, they are essentially putting all of this and shelving it for the time being. So they basically are
Hmm.
saying that the planned release of the quality of life update, which includes the mod support and enhanced custom setting, um, they're basically stretching the team too thin, and they're basically gonna put it off until they're finally done. So once episode 5
Yeah,
hits, then they'll refocus on the rest of the stuff. I was really excited about mod support and enhanced custom settings coming out. And the
same.
quality of life is always nice.
Yep. Yep. So it sounds like they did have people kind of working on those things like the quality of life and the mod support and the enhanced custom settings, and Hinterland pretty much pulled those people off of those projects, and they're like, "Hey, we're all going to come work on episode 5 because they are pretty adamant that they need to get it out this year." So, which is unfortunate. I'm a little sad about it.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
customization we were both looking
mhm,
forward to, and I know that mods getting proper mod support. Now, granted, they have mods, but they're not
mhm,
supported by Hinterland quite the same way. A good
no,
example would be Skyrim, correct? I think that's a
yeah,
Skyrim's like an older game that still survives today because of modding. So if they
mhm,
really want this game to, outlive its shelf life, they're going to have to embrace the mod community. So,
yeah,
and it's going
yeah.
to add so much fun.
Mhm. It is. Yeah, I'm in the camp like I like story mode, but I mean survival is like my bread and butter. That's where I live. That's what I like to play. So I'm
I'm
almost
looking
kind of sad.
I'm looking forward to people making new challenges like,
Mhm.
like Hopeless Rescue 2, where you start off in Sunder Pass at the weather station and you have to hike all the way to the summit, and then you have to go and shoot the flare off in Bleak Inlet, all while the bear from The Hunted is chasing you.
That would
Now
be
that would be a challenge.
that would be something. You can keep the bear. I like everything. I like everything else. That's why I don't play
It would
like
be like
the
the
dark.
Dark Walker on steroids.
No. No.
I haven't played the Dark Walker. I need to do that one. I'm not good with
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
good with games with things that chase me, so I've been hesitant to play those.
Yeah, same here.
Mm.
Same here.
Okay, so we get into the latter part of this, and we're going to kind of read this verbatim, but I'm going to break it into two spaces so that you guys can have a chance to comment, and so Jitwar can also comment. So the next spot is it's basically said, "What's after episode 5?" And it reads, "That's a great question. Shipping episode 5 will be the biggest inflection point for the Long Dark. It's been years in the making, and in most ways, the completion of Wintermute story mode represents the end of the Long Dark. I'm writing the end in quotes because it's still intended to continue updating the game, but completing the story mode has been a point of accountability for Hinterland for all these years. With the story mode finished, we are looking forward to having some breathing room to figure out what the next steps and to continue to work without the weight of the big promise hanging over us. So, for a little while at least, we're going to think about shipping episode 5 and finishing Wintermute as the end. And it's in bold letters. We'll have delivered on our promises, lived up to our obligations, and hopefully you'll be happy with the results and feel they were worth the wait. Beyond that, we have made some critical choices about what we're going to do with the game, and we'll be interested in hearing your thoughts about what you'd like to see. I'll probably share a community survey around this time before the end of the year, along with lines of the ones that we did before when we committed to building the tales. The survey will give you a chance to influence the future of the Long Dark. As mentioned, there will definitely be at least one more quality of life update, improved custom settings, mod support, and we've always promised Hunted Part 3. This is where the weather tower comes in. Beyond that, we'll have many ideas on how to keep supporting and expanding the Long Dark into the future. But we don't want to do that without consulting with you and figuring out what you'd like to see and how you would like to continue supporting the game. It costs lots of money to run a studio like Hinterland. We've invested a lot into the Long Dark and its sequel, Blackfrost, over the years. So our focus will be on how to continue building games, supporting them for years to come in a financially sustainable way that is safe and fair for our team. In all of that, again, excuse me, and all of this against the backdrop of ongoing industry turmoil that has seen a lot of our friends and fellow independent studios shut down over the last couple of years, not to mention the dark economic clouds on the global horizon. We wouldn't want to move ahead without without you being a part of the journey. So we want to hear what you would like to see more of, whether it's more regions, more mechanics, more story. The survey will include all kinds of questions around this. What's exciting is that there's many paths that we can take, including really ambitious stuff or more modest, sustainable stuff. And we really want to find a healthy way to continue supporting the Long Dark and keep you playing in the world for many years to come, along with some of the other work, which brings me to our next topic.
Right.
Hello, Humble Tracker.
Yeah. Hey, Humble.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
so much for joining us and for the kind words. Really appreciate it. But so yeah, essentially to paraphrase that, all of it confirmed after episode 5, they're going to do the quality of life, enhanced custom settings, official mod support, and the Hunted Part 3. And they will also be doing a survey, which is going to include, you know, what players want to see next. Is it going to be new regions, new mechanics, new whatever it is? So that'll be really interesting to see. But again, this is all going to be after episode 5 because it's all hands on deck for that right now. So I guess that kind of comes with a question, like what else would you like to see with the future, or do you think that's a pretty good list? And same for chat.
It's a pretty good list. I mean, I think mod support solves a lot of the things that many in the community would like to see. I think from my point of view is they're going to build these new maps for, story mode. And even if it took us a year to get them, like let the story play out and we get them as a treat the year later, I would love to see them add, obviously new maps. But then again, mod support, if, there's the Long Dark development has those wonderful maps that they've been working on, doing them from scratch and putting a lot of time in. If they had proper mod support, those things would work much better and not have the issues. So we'd have more regions to play in. I'm not sure I'm worried about more stories. I think Black Frost is really where the story and the survival is going to blend together when that time comes. So I'm not too worried about them doing more story stuff. Just want to see them keep, taking the suggestions from us and continuing to work towards, better things. And you, what do you want to see? Uh-oh. Did I lose her again? Hang on. You fell off again. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No problem.
I got too many windows open to keep track of you and everybody else.
Yeah, no problem. So I was saying, I think the mod support is really what I want as well, because like I see some people in the comments saying, they want perseverance, mills, and survival. And if Hinterland doesn't do it, opening up that mod support will let the modding community do it. And also, like, there's always all these little bugs in like any game.
Uh-oh. Hang on. She fell off again. We're having a wonderful time with Streamlabs today. Come back, Jitwire. Come back. Come back to us.
Hello?
Yeah, you keep falling off.
Oh
I'm
no.
gonna I'm gonna have to keep you front and center so I can keep an eye on you. You keep wandering.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, like I was saying, um, with like Ark and like Skyrim, like you will have modders that will go in and that will do like patches essentially to fix bugs that the development studio won't. And I think even just that would be fantastic. You know, having modders do patches and things like that.
And the beautiful thing about that is that Hinterland gets that on the cheap. All they need
Mm-hmm.
is one or two people to help, work through bugs and things like that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a beautiful idea if they get that much done. But we always want more maps. We always want more stuff to do. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll have to see what they're offering and go from there. But I think mod support and more customization in the maps or in the
Yep.
game modes, custom modes would be the thing that would fix a lot of the silliness that we want to do. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In Humble Tracker is saying, I wish the Long Dark would span over spring, summer, fall, and winter. So that was in their original roadmap, but they never actually ended up doing it. And that's another great thing about mod support is maybe the modders could do it. So that would be fantastic.
And who knows, maybe the modders might even get ambitious enough to show us what Great Bear Island looked like before the collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Might be an interesting.
Yep.
There might be a lot of
And
interesting things that could come out of that.
yep. And Silent Shade is saying, I'd like to see small stuff like item updates and maybe even some mini story side quests involving the camera and Cougar 3.0. But beyond that, I think mods fill bigger gaps. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that could be handed by, a good mod community. And the Long Dark does definitely have a good modding community. Like,
Yeah.
they're great. They're really dedicated. And I would love to see them have like actual support, just the things they could do.
Yeah, I think that somebody that's crafty enough with the mods could definitely do different seasons and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think what it would be is like a loading screen. You would just have a loading screen that would show some kind of change. Like you could do some little cinematic thing of like the change of the leaves or something, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're into the next 3 months is different weather. Now you don't wear all this heavy clothing. You've got to pack it away, but you got to keep it, mended so that it doesn't deteriorate. And there could be a whole new thing going on. So yeah, lots and lots of things to dream about.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what they actually open up, with their modding support too, because something like that, like the modding tools would need to support like new textures and things like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then Wandering
Um,
Fire is saying something about he's asking me, don't understand what Ralph means about new zones. Maybe too important to put into survival. I don't see how it would diminish the story anyway. I think a lot of that has to do with they don't want to take away from the importance of some of them. Perseverance Mills, maybe not such a big deal, but maybe like we have a good idea that they're going to go to the Suzuki radio tower. That maybe that's not worthy to add in and stuff. But again, here's where the modding community can come in and maybe flesh out this map because we all know, thanks to Toasty, that the map is
mhm.
sideways.
Yeah.
And so it would be neat to maybe get a corrected map and maybe get everything to, for the sun to set in the correct direction everywhere and little tiny things just like that.
Yep. For sure.
Okay, so let's get on to the last section here. And
Yeah.
this is to talk about the game that actually launched this channel,
Mm-hmm.
Black Frost. And
Yeah.
then we'll talk a little bit about that. I got some things to share on that front. So it says, I imagine many of you noticed that the launch announcement for Black Frost, The Long Dark 2, at the Game Awards in December. There was a lot of excitement about it from many of you, as well as some understandable questions of, but how can you announce a sequel before the current game is finished? And I thought it might be helpful to talk about why we did this. Okay, large companies with multiple revenue streams or publishers backed or owned studios who don't have to pay their own bills can afford to have extensive downtime, often years between projects. Those years are spent working on new things in anticipation of launching them in the future. During those periods, studios are being paid out of development funds provided by their publisher or investment or payroll from a parent company. But most often, the studios aren't generating meaningful revenue during these times. Hinterland is an independent studio, and our annual costs are covered out of the revenue from the Long Dark and the DLC, like the Tales from the Far Territory. It wouldn't be feasible for us to go dark for 2 to 3 years between finishing up the Long Dark and launching the sequel, because we generate revenue from the sales of the game to new players, and that keeps the studio going. Also, since we only charge once for the things that we make, we don't have an extensive DLC or ongoing revenue streams. We'd simply go out of business if we didn't release something within a reasonable distance of wrapping up the Long Dark. So we need to build up new projects at the same time as we're continuing to ship and support the existing game. Another factor is that it's a lot harder to bring an audience back to a sequel if you've lost them along the way. Our hope by continuing to update the Long Dark at the same time as we're building Blackfrost is to show you that your time commitment to the first game has not been in vain. You can still play it and enjoy it well into the future at building up Blackfrost. And after Blackfrost ships in early access, in between updates there, you'll be able to bounce back to the Long Dark and continue experiencing the quiet apocalypse. This way, you can keep playing in the larger world we're building for you. You can continue investing your time knowing that the game will always be there for you. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And then over time, gradually, we'll put the larger portion of our time and our resources into building the Blackfrost, as it was also needed that same focus to dedication behind the Long Dark as it had for over the last 10 years. We see both games supporting each other, and the player community behind both games being part of a blended community who loves the broader idea of the Long Dark as a setting, the quiet apocalypse that unites the games. It's also real important that the independent studios have an opportunity to gradually build up excitement around new projects. We don't have massive marketing budgets to promote our games with. We sell directly to you, and our relationship is directly with you. Powerful systems like wish lists on Steam are a way for studios to generate anticipation for a project and gather goodwill and interest, with some hope and expectation of converting those wish lists to sales over time. The more wish lists a game launches with, the more likelihood the launch will go well, hitting a critical mass to gain the attention and help to break out of the 1,000 plus new games that launch every month on Steam. There were almost 19,000 new games on sale for Steam last year, and the wish list also indicates some general sense of how well a game will sell over time, which also helps in our long-term planning. This system is the very core of how Steam works, as every launch or sale is an opportunity to ping a wish lister with the reminder to buy the game. So we really need to be able to use the system and build up towards early access launch of Blackfrost. But the wishlist system only works if we can talk about our work, share it, and get new people excited by it. We know that some of you were unhappy to see the announcement of Blackfrost before we completed the Long Dark, as you have been waiting for a long time for episode 5. But if we have to wait until it ships episode 5 before we talk about the other work, our revenue could simply dry up before we get the Blackfrost sequel to launch, which would be a pretty serious problem for us. Our current plan is to launch Blackfrost into early access about a year after we ship the Long Dark. We think that's a good amount of time to create space between the two games. I understand the sentiment that we owe you episode 5 and that we have yet to deliver, and I get that you've been waiting a long time for it. We will be shipping it this year. The game will be finished. I know it's been frustrating. I am not trying to minimize or ignore any of these feelings. I'm not making excuses, and we will take our responsibility to you very, very seriously. But I know, excuse me, but I also know that we've been afraid to share any of our work outside the Long Dark for the fear of alienating or angering players who can sometimes be quite hostile, and this has held us back in many ways. So I'm asking you to try to be patient with us, as so many of you have been, and give us the space to talk about Blackfrost without punishing our fans out of the community and attacking the dev team or the studio. There's no Black Frost without the Long Dark, but the opposite will also become true. After episode 5, there is no TLD without Black Frost. The project's combined future and their roadmap are intertwined. And someday, we might even be able to talk about non-TLD Black Frost projects. We hope that we can open up with you and share our excitement about some of these other things, knowing that even if you can't feel excited about it with us, that you will leave some space for other fans to be happy and excited. We're all here because we love the game. We want, excuse me, we want it for Hinterland to be more than just the Long Dark. We hope that you can come to care about our team and the studio and all the things that we hope to make in the future, not just the game you're playing right now. So please, let's together make sure that we can create a safe, positive space that for the love of the TLD and the future projects that we share without attacking other people. I'd like to be able to start sharing info about Black Frost and future dev diaries. If this is going to be a trigger for you while you're waiting for episode 5, I suggest that you skip the dev diary until episode 5 ships and then come back and read them later. We have been able to share, we have not, I'm really butchering this last part. We have to be able to share our work in order to make the games we want to make and run the studio the way we want to run it. I hope you understand and you will support us in this. And if you want to support Hinterland in our future, please consider wishlisting Black Frost on Steam. That was very wordy.
Yeah, there was a lot. So I guess I'll do my little recap, sum up of that. So essentially, early access for Black Frost, they're targeting it to be 1 year after episode 5 ships. So we were supposed to be getting it at the end of this year, but now we're getting Wintermute episode 5 the end of this year. So we're not going to be seeing early access for Black Frost until the following year. So that'll be like 2026, late in the year. As for the reasons why Black Frost was announced early, it was to build wish lists on Steam, which is crucial for Hinterland's survival at this point. So if you haven't added Black Frost to your wish list, if you could do that, I'm sure they would really appreciate it, because, you know, that helps them gauge if there's interest and what their sales might potentially be, so they can start planning things. And they needed to be financially secure and stable without any major downtime. So, I mean, Raph made a lot of really good points. They're an indie studio. They're not a AAA studio. They don't have a bunch of investors or a publisher that's feeding them funds. They're pretty much doing it all themselves, and they're being independent. So they can't really afford downtime, and they can't really afford a large marketing budget. So that was a big reason for why it was announced before, you know, episode 5 was completed, because they have to keep your attention. They can't risk, you know, that their players are going to go away and be stuck on something else. They need to get you excited about this new thing they're working on. And I think Raph kind of summed it up. You know, there's no Black Frost without the Long Dark, but after episode 5, there's no the Long Dark without Black Frost. It's you need both to coexist, because obviously if they don't have any more income coming in after, you know, the Long Dark finishes, they're not going to have the money to support it any longer. And as far as the relationship between the Long Dark and Black Frost, they're not going to be, you know, dropping the Long Dark. Black Frost and Long Dark will coexist with each other, and players can jump between games for years to come. So I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot to digest. And
Hmm.
I think the thing that I think we definitely there's definitely a small group of people that can to have a loud voice. This was
Hmm.
prudent during the Cougar issue. This is
Yes.
prudent with the release of the Black Frost trailer.
Hmm.
Does it make you feel bad that they released it and they hadn't finished episode 5? Yes, it does. It does
Hmm.
feel a little bit of a gut punch, but he does
Yeah.
explain it very well here. The other thing too, and this is what I had talked about earlier in the deal about kind of explaining this thing. And for anybody that's not familiar, not that I'm in the gaming industry, but I do kind of understand this from a different point of view. And that is your development team and your game building team all are specialized and do different things.
Hmm.
So you got to understand that when they released the, hey, we're going to do a DLC and this is what we're going to do, that was to give us something more in the original game and also fund parts of Black Frost.
Hmm.
They probably had a good portion of the DLC already kind of ready to go, at least map wise. They had a roadmap already in place.
Hmm.
So think about it from, and again, this is coming from my limited point of view here. Think about it from the aspect of assembling a car. You can't assemble a car starting with the headlights and the taillights.
Yep.
You've got to start from the frame. And so when they showed us Black Frost, these were teaser trailers. They were in-game teaser trailers. The group that were probably working on these items were the guys who are making the maps, the guys who are doing the early artwork and development. They were done with the DLC. They had done their part. They were sitting there waiting for something to do. So they were working on the next car while the rest of the team was putting on the headlights and
Hmm.
all the finishing stuff, painting the car, putting all the glitz. So you have this group of people that are making maps and building the world. Then the level designers and the rest of them come in to finish it out. So those guys needed to be working on the next thing, and that's probably who's working on that now. They're fleshing out what Harmont is going to be, what the outskirts are going to look like, how all this mapping stuff is going to be done. They don't have much they can do with what is coming out in episode 5. All those maps are made. They're done. So that's another way to think about it. You've got these people that need to be working on something else. They need to tell us about these things so that we can be excited about it. And then this is going to come around. I'll let Jitwire jump in here and give her 2 cents, but it's going
Yeah.
to jump around to the next point I want to make about the Black Frost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to say I agree with that. I agree with that, Kirk. And I think your car analogy was a really good one because, yeah, you pretty much do need to start with the frame before you can go on with the paint and all the pretty stuff and make it look nice. So I agree
So,
with that.
yeah, you kind of got to understand that the people that are working on Black Frost right now don't have a lot to do with what's going on with Black Frost, or I mean,
Hmm.
with the story, because
Yeah.
those maps were made. They've had this going for a long time. The other thing too about coming back to without Black Frost, there is no the Long Dark, and there's no Long Dark without the Black Frost deal. When this podcast and the channel were being thought about in late November, we were actually discussing this partnership that we started. And one of the fears was, were we going to have anything to talk about a year from now?
Yep.
Because we're doing a weekly show, and how many times you all going to come back to listen to us talk about, snow shelters?
Hmm.
Then Black Frost hit, and we both
Yeah.
pretty much virtually kind of looked at each other and said, we now have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So this podcast and the channel would not have probably started if we didn't get Black Frost, because we had a
Yeah.
future to continue. And that was important to both of us because we figured we now have a roadmap for ourselves to continue to do this. And the reason why this channel isn't named The Long Dark, it's named The Survivor's Corner, so that we can encompass more survival style games including Blackfrost, including the Long Dark. We want to talk about the Raft, Subnautica 2, all these other things. So we've got lots and lots to touch base on. But anyway, to
Hmm.
kind of tie that all together, we also needed the Blackfrost in order to keep the this project going as well. Now as I got all philosophical on everybody. Hang on, you fell off again. This is killing me. Every time I click away from you, you fall off. All right, I'm sorry. We didn't hear anything after I made my spiel about we wouldn't be here without Blackfrost.
No problem. I was just saying I was gonna address chat a little bit. So,
Okay.
Humble Tracker is asking, do we know if salt deposits replenish over time? I don't actually know the answer to that. I might have to
I
test
do
it.
believe it is true. I think it's a lot like coal, but I don't have the definitive answer for that because I've heard other
Yeah.
people say that it does, but they don't have like
Yeah.
a time frame. I think it's a lot like coal.
Yep. Good to know. And Silent Shade is saying, I really like that they announced Blackfrost, means their studio has a future and isn't hanging up after they're the Long Dark success. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, I know a lot of people are probably wondering that as well. Like, what are they going to do after the game's done? Because we knew episode 5 was coming, and that means that's like the end of the story mode. I mean, what else could they really do? They could do some quality of life updates, but that's not going to be.
And at what point does the game engine become irrelevant and
Yeah.
all of those things, So
Yep. And Castle is asking, isn't Blackfrost like a year after the first flare? I can't remember how they wrote the description.
I think
Yes.
that is correct. I think it was supposed to be like a year after. Apparently, the episode 5 is going to have some minor tie-ins, according to what we were reading, but we don't know how much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be the one to answer your question on the salt. It replenishes like coal. So
Yeah.
all right.
Yep.
So the last little bit of the dev diary, unless you've got somebody else you need to answer here, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
No.
So the last little part about the dev diary is basically just kind of an update on the good old games and Wii games platforms that they're working with those two platforms to get the story mode and the Tales to work on those purchases. So they
Mhm.
work on a little different setup than like Steam and Epic in that they are they're DRM free, so they have to work through some details on how to make all that stuff work. So, and then lastly
Yeah.
was the one thing we did mention already, and that is, and if you're just joining us again, and I'm not trying to pine for them in any stretch of the means, but we do want to see Blackfrost come out. But right now, if you don't have some bit, piece, or part of the Long Dark, they are having a huge sale on Steam right now. So,
Yep.
and that's the last of the dev diary.
Yeah. One thing we didn't mention to you is save migration info. So if you're going from the PS4 to the PS5, that should be coming in June, and the same thing for the Xbox One to the Series XS. So
Is that
safe
similar to the
transfers.
Divide, like what we went through?
Mhm.
Divided game, is that what that is? Yeah. Okay.
Kind of, yeah. It's just, again, it's like save transfers to updated consoles. So that way, if you have a long-term run on your PS4, you can move it over to your PS5. But again, won't be coming till June.
Well, at least you'll be able to save your deals.
Yeah, right.
That's got to be hard for consoles. That's one of the reasons why I'm not a console user, is because of that. There's certain things that feel handcuffed.
Yeah.
Like the mods and stuff. I don't know how that's going to work for consoles. It's going to be more of a PC thing, I think, especially early on. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody plays what they play on. I understand. Just I feel a little sorry for some of the console players because they always seem to be a little later and don't get all the trinkets. That's why I switched to PC gaming years and years ago. Castle saying, I wonder if they'll bring more trophies to collect like they did in the Tales Trophies Edition. It's possible. They are supposed to add more safe house customization stuff. They're supposed to do more trader stuff. We still don't know what the gold nugget's for. They added an extra one, and we still don't know what it's for. So maybe that we use to trade for Sunder's boat, and we leave. Oh, did you fall off again? Good Lord, woman. You fell off again.
Streamlabs hates me today.
I guess. I'm putting you right in front of me so I can see you.
Oh my god.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. Hey, Slip Gear. Thanks for coming in. So, in Castle thing, I wonder if they're going to bring in more trophies to collect like they did with the Tales edition. That would be nice.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I was waiting for you to comment, and I didn't hear you respond. I was like, you had to fall off again.
Yeah.
Poor Jetwire. She's broadcasting from the cliffs.
I am.
I'll be broadcasting from Pleasant Valley. She's broadcasting from Sunder Pass. So if we don't hear her very well, it's because she's yelling really loud.
Yes. I'm yelling very loud over the Timberwolves and the blizzards and.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I'm not closing out the show just yet, but just the fact that we're on a little later in the evening than we normally are. We generally kind of do a show about 3 or 4 hours earlier than this to try to have it more open towards the European market and what have you to kind of spread that. But again, I said this earlier, and by all means, the feedback generates what we do. If you guys kind of like this late Saturday night deal, I know it's later for most people. For me, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm a West Coast kid. So I know it's 9 o'clock your time, East Coast?
9.
Yeah. So
9.
Jetwire's on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock. A little later broadcast. But if this works good for you guys, we'll definitely consider doing, 1 or 2 Saturday evening thing. We're up for a lot of different things. We just need to know what you guys want. Same thing. Maybe we need to put our own survey out.
Yeah. Yep.
We enjoy this a lot.
We do. So I'll be the one who's saying the YouTuber LMG speculates that episode 5's Lighthouse has change of seasons. Possibly. That all of that's concept art too. Most of those pictures in that look very pristine. Yes.
So it depends. Are they feeling the pain of the collapse as well as everywhere else? And that's another thing too. You're talking about other areas that would maybe part of the survey is like maybe we need to ask for more lore stuff. I know Toasty would love that, but Port Mary is talked about quite a bit in the thing. If they could, drum up something along that lines. There's one other, I can't forget. There was one other one I know. Wish he was here. To throw him up here on here, he could talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's got a couple of them that he's mentioned, so those would be interesting. And I don't know. I'd like to see some of that stuff.
Same. I would too.
And Mary, you're saying you're good with the time, but I'm not sure if I'm understanding 100%. I mean, do you like the idea of us doing a later show? Like I said, I have to work one Saturday a month, essentially. So that's kind of what this was the time for us to do the Dev Diary. We are still having our regularly scheduled show tomorrow at the same time that we normally do. And we have a very special guest joining us.
Yes,
so you
we
won't
do.
want to miss. You won't want to miss. So we're doing 2 shows this weekend.
Yep.
But if you like this evening show, and if you ask nicely, we might be able to pull this off more often.
Yes.
So, Castle says he wants more lore as well. I think there's a lot of that they could do. I mean, the trader was able to do some lore. They could do some more trader stuff that has more lore in it. Go fetch this and find this and tell me about, so and so from, the whale factory or whatever. So they could do a whole lot of that.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
she's saying chat time anytime's good for me, pretty much. Okay, great.
Hmm.
But leave a comment by all means. Just leave a comment. Let us know what you'd like to see and all that stuff. I guess Toasty's still fight. I was kind of lingering. He wanted to be here. I was gonna, if he wanted to put in his 2 cents, I'd offer him a chair for a moment and let him speak. But
Still fighting the cougars.
he must be fighting the little clan of cougars. They're a
Yeah.
bunch of cougar cubs.
Yep.
So, any lasting thoughts on this? Are you happy, sad? What's your feelings here, Jetwire? And hopefully we won't lose you.
Ah, geez. So, I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good, you know. Like they said, Wintermute is like their final big commitment that they really have to fulfill with the game. So while I'm sad that we're not getting more stuff for survival, and again, that's kind of just me personally because I tend to play survival more than I play the story mode. So that almost feels like it'd be more useful to me. I completely understand them wanting all hands on deck to get this done so they can move on to Blackfrost. How about you?
It's not a surprising thing. When the
Mm-hmm.
DLC first came out and us early adopters, we put our money down. We were like, we're betting on you, and we
Yep.
were supposed to get all of the things we got in a year, and it took 2. But they
Mm-hmm.
followed through and they kept their promise. I will give them that.
Yep.
Again, if you want to know what disappointment is, go play Half-Life 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
disappointment. You got a cliffhanger and you don't know what the hell happened. Um, so I have faith that we're going to get good stuff out of them, and it's going to be worth the wait. I know
Yep.
it's really been tough for people that have waited for years and years, but at this point, they sound like they're serious. They've got everything going. So let's hope they don't have to delay us again. I think then the real disappointment will kick in. I
Yeah.
think my disappointment isn't so much for the game. My disappointment is what we started this podcast about, is that now Black Frost is going to be a little further down the road
Yeah.
and that stuff. So that I'm sad about. But again, it's life. We have disappointment all the time, and we have to learn
Yeah.
to be patient and understanding. We want to build our community to be a friendly and loving community. So let's show them a little patience. Let's show them some understanding and let them cook. They're in the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
now, so let them cook.
Yep. Yep. For sure.
And
Yeah.
Castle's
And I
saying
mean,
that he's healing and he's learned all the fun stuff about the cougar afflictions to deal with. So
oh gosh.
all he had to do was watch Jitwire die in her last
Yeah.
stalker run. He would have learned everything he
Uh,
needed to know.
he would
Leave the
have.
cougar alone. Just leave it alone. It's not worth it.
Yep.
Just make 2 knives and sharpen one all the time.
Yep. But I guess we should probably start wrapping up so we don't keep going around in circles. I think we've pretty much covered everything
I think we've covered
in the
everything,
episode.
and I think we've covered probably like I said, good time that we talked about why the podcast was started
Mm-hmm.
and by means if he's still here, the person you need to thank for that is Humble Tracker. He's the one that lit the fuse on this. So,
Yep.
but the straw that broke the camel's back was Black Frost. That
Yep.
was the thing that collapsed both Jitwire into going, okay, we've got something here, let's go. And then the very
Yep.
first show was Black Frost. So, with that said, I got nothing more to add. Miss Jitwire, please play us out.
Yep. Thank you all so very much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you next time, which will be tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.